Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor back with another bonus Smarter Science of Slim podcast. And I got to tell you, I'm as a listener, forget about being a host, as a listener, I am excited for today's show because we are joined by the lead researcher at Examine.com. Now, I wasn't familiar with Examine.com until recently, but I am going to get more familiar with it because it is an online compendium, and I just love that word, a compendium of information on dietary supplementation and health, whose goals are to become an up-to-date and comprehensive database on all topics of health and wellness. But the coolest thing, in addition to being like super science-based, like maybe even too science-based for some listeners, but very science-based, is that the way they make their money is like totally indirect. So they are truly independent researchers. There is no one paying them for their recommendations, and there's no subscriber fees. I actually want to talk a little bit about how they make money because, as you and I all know, how people make money greatly influences sometimes their opinion about what we put in our mouth and do with our body. So fortunately, Examine.com is trying to break away from that, and we have none other than the lead researcher from Examine.com, Kurtis Frank. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hi there.
Kurtis, Examine.com, unbiased. What led to the inspiration to create this compendium of independent, unbiased supplementation research?
It was a stroke of luck for the most part. I was just thinking out loud on a public forum that I wanted a huge database to put all my research in that I could revisit at any time. It was just collected there for me, but it's available to the public as well, so other people can just access it, give their thoughts, like see what I've researched, save themselves some time. And then I just had all these other out there ideas, and I thought it was just completely impractical. And then I was contacted by my now co-founder at Examine, Saul Orwell, and he's like, yo, I can make that happen. So we just got together, made Examine.com, and we've been working at it ever since.
So Kurtis, are you? You might be the only other person. There's like me, maybe you, and then John Kiefer, and there's a few other folks that like. Do you just read thousands of studies in your spare time for fun?
Yes, I haven't. I can't really distinguish between work and spare time anymore. I just wake up, caffeine, get to work, keep on going. I've crossed that line where I no longer get stressed and tired from reading studies. It just is. So I keep on going.
I love it. Well, Kurtis, just take us through the typical. So you had this passion. You were just reading studies. Take us maybe through the chronology of you crazy passionate about science, supplementation, and the existence of Examine.com, and then also throw in key numbers like number of studies you've read, number of visitors to your site, blah, 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 blah.
So like the history of Examine?
Sure. And you, because you, in many ways, you are Examine, from what I understand.
I'm blushing. But yeah, basically, before I got started at Examine, my history can basically be summed up as I started off obese, out of shape, became not obese and out of shape. And as much as everyone was saying, like I am actually a trained dietitian, despite that, I love the idea of putting a pill in your mouth and changing your body. Like, it's just as close as you can get to putting cheat codes into life. But when I looked at the supplement industry as it is, I was completely, like, the opposite sensation was there. It seems a lot of people love the idea of putting pills in the mouth to change their body, and 90% of what was out there is either ineffective, marketed when it shouldn't be, or just the thing in your pill is not actually what's on the label. So I really wanted to sort of harmonize that balance. Like, if I see someone who loves supplementation, I should be elated at that fact rather than concerned about their health because of the state the industry is in. So because of that, I just started to get researching on supplementation. I went to university for dietetics, mainly because I didn't get into pharmacy initially. I can go in pharmacy for master's, doesn't matter. And then I just got to examine. I thought that's the best way to educate the public about supplementation and further my own research at the exact same time. And I've just been working at it since.
Kurtis, I love that story because it shows an interesting irony, one that I've experienced as well. And tell me what you think about this. Something as scientific and brain-based as examine.com, often the intestinal fortitude necessary to do that and to create that and to do all that research, to do that very logical undertaking, comes from a very emotional place. It sounds like a place of pain that you experienced, that on some level you said, I don't want others to experience the same pain.
That would be a little bit accurate. I haven't experienced as much pain as I've seen pain.
Okay.
Like I've seen a lot of case studies where let's say there's a popular supplement like Kava Kava or maybe Black Cohosh. It's actually, with these supplements, as soon as they reach a certain amount of popularity, you will always find case studies of liver damage with them. Not because the herb is bad, but because somebody just put some cheap filler into their supplement, someone took it, got hurt, and blamed what was on the label. And it happens with scary precision. Like, if it gets like $100 million in sales per year, people are going to start spiking it just to make a buck.
Interesting. Well, Kurtis, the thing I want to share with the listeners here, and certainly you can speak to this better than I can, is what impressed me the most about examine.com, in addition to the breadth and depth of the research, is, I mean, the site is legit. It's got a bunch of information on it. Obviously, there are people that have to be working full time on this site. And then the question comes, okay, well, then how is this getting funded? You guys have an incredibly unique way of financing yourselves. And that's really important because, as you know, and as you talk about a lot, whoever's paying the bills oftentimes can influence what we hear about eating and exercise. So how do you guys pay the bills?
When we started off with Examine, we had like a little link on the top of each page. So let's say you go to the page on raspberry ketones. I'd recommend you don't because they suck. But at the very top, you'd see a little link, buy from Amazon. We link to amazon.com.ca mostly, and some other databases as well. Search engines. We never link to a particular brand. We just link to the general website where you can then do a search, which has already been implemented. So if you click raspberry ketone buy link, you'll be on amazon.com, and the search for raspberry ketones is already done. And from there, if you buy something on Amazon, we get a small cut because we referred you. That was initially our only stream of income, and it was a very bad stream of income for the first 2 years of existence. And ever since we started selling our little PDF ebook, that started to become a source of income as well. Eventually in the future, I can't say this with 100% certainty, but we may actually start to phase out the Amazon.com links and just in favor for the ebook or whatever independent source of income we might come across.
Kurtis, I want to highlight this for the listeners because for those of us who are in the industry get how radical and awesome this is, but it might not be immediately obvious unless you work in the industry. So examine.com, obviously massive amount of work is going into the company here, and they are not only are they not selling pills, potions, and powders, but they're not even recommending specific brands they're in bed with and yada yada. They're just saying, like, you want to buy leucine? Okay, like, we'll do the Google search for you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then certainly they'll sell maybe like an ebook or something like that, which is, I just want to salute you, Kurtis, because so much of the medical, nutrition, and health industry has been driven by making money, and because of that, healthy has become very unhealthy. So just I appreciate that, and I hope you guys are able to keep that up over time.
Well, I'm in a little position right now of just fresh out of university, and when you're in university, you get by on like less than 5 digits a year kind of thing. So I'm at this moment in time desensitized to the concept of earning the big bucks, because as long as I can eat, I'm completely happy with that.
Kurtis, I love it. Well, so tell me a little bit about so much is talked about supplements these days and supplement, but one of the things you point out is that there are foods which could almost be thought of as supplements given how acute their effects are. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Which ones?
Uh, which do you find to be the most compelling for the most common goals I've seen, which are fat loss, energy improval, and maybe some lean muscle tissue development?
I can't actually think of any foods for lean muscle growth aside from more.
Okay, that's a great answer. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. There's two in particular that I find really good for health. The first one will be shorter for me to explain, so I'll get that out of the way first. It's called Nigella sativa, which is what the examine entry is under, but they're essentially black cumin seeds. Not related to cumin at all. Taste like pepper, not related to pepper at all. It's just a traditional, it's a spice used in India, but it's also a medicine there. The active dose is literally 2 to 3 grams of the seeds, so enough to just season a piece of meat. In general, it has weak to moderate beneficial effects on almost everything. So it's anti-cancer, but not in like a remarkable way, like some chemotherapeutics would be. It does boost the immune system to a mild degree. It is anti-diabetic. That one's a bit more impressive than the other ones. Reduces cholesterol, like not enough to write home about, but it's another little added benefit. And there's one study I saw where it was just given to obese men with a lot of visceral body fat, like the whole hard belly. And it improved all their health parameters just a little bit, but their well-being went up. And the authors really didn't know what the heck happened. It just kind of did. So it's a great spice to just have in your house, season on food, and get a little bit healthier each day. Like it's the definition of a healthy food.
Kurtis, and is it such that could you just like put it in a tablespoon and take it, or I forget, my dosage is probably all screwed up, but like could you put a teaspoon of it in a smoothie or just like mix it with water, or how do we?
Well, it tastes like black pepper. So I'm not sure if putting it in a smoothie might be the best thing.
Okay.
You can season, like you can have a pasta dish or whatever, then just throw on 2 to 3 grams of it and eat it.
And what is it called again?
Nigella sativa, or you can find that in Indian grocer called black cumin seeds.
Cumin seeds. All right, I love it. What else?
Garlic.
Woohoo! I love garlic. So
I love garlic so much right now.
raw garlic, cooked garlic, does it matter?
Any form of garlic except when you cook it before slicing it up.
Okay. So
It's
do
weird.
not cook whole cloves of garlic.
Well, it's hard. It's easy to explain, but weird to sort of put your head around. There's one main molecule in garlic called allele, and it's pretty stable. It just chills there. And then there's an enzyme in garlic as well called allinase. These things all sound alike, so it's confusing. And they're just sitting there doing nothing until you cut or crush the garlic clove. Then allinase will act on allele to form allicin. Whenever allicin is formed, then it's just spontaneous combustion into 1,000 different molecules. And those are all the molecules that give you health benefits. If that little spontaneous combustion does not occur, then you don't really get the health benefits of garlic. And the only way that cannot occur is if you heat excessively or boil the clove before cutting it, because that'll destroy the enzyme but leave the main parent molecule intact.
Gotcha. So, and this is going to sound really dumb, but given that, I mean, most of the time we don't hear about cutting food causing chemical reactions, which just sounds like what's happening here.
Yeah.
Let's say I took a clove of garlic and I cut it in half. Okay, that's scenario A. Scenario B, I cut it up into 7 pieces. Scenario C, I put it in a blender and pulverize it. Am I getting like better and better as I go down that spectrum?
Depends. Are you cooking with it afterwards or are you just eating it?
Let's say both.
If you're cooking it afterwards, the more you crush it up, the better. If you're eating it, no big deal because your teeth are crushing it up.
But generally speaking, the more it could become like a garlic paste.
Yes. The more surface area you expose it to, the more of the reaction you get.
So you and I should go into business creating like a garlic peanut butter of sorts, where it's just all.
You could just like put garlic cloves on the counter and smash it with a cutting board. That would work quite well.
I like my idea of a garlic and jelly sandwich better. That sounds delicious.
Yeah, but consumers need to eat it.
All right, Curtis. So we've got black cumin seeds, we've got garlic. Anything else on the list?
I can talk about garlic more.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
One thing that really surprised me about it, it's immune boosting properties. Whenever you're talking about the immune system or just increasing immunity, that in itself is a really vague and kind of meaningless term. You have to sort of break it down into parameters. Do you want to prevent getting sick? If you're already sick, do you want to get better faster? Or do you just want to reduce the symptoms? And so there's like different ways you can attack it. Like echinacea, for example, it reduces how long you're sick for, but it does not really reduce the frequency of sickness nor the severity of symptoms. Garlic is really potent at preventing sickness from occurring, basically. Two studies, both of them are independent from each other, but one's supported by the producers of a supplement. Basically, the equivalent of around 12 grams of garlic cloves a day, raw weight, will reduce cold frequency by about 60%. So for every 100 people who get sick in the placebo group, 40 in the garlic group get sick. Same effect size in both studies. So it just seems that having 1 clove of garlic 3 times a day with meals can have that much of a reduction in the rate of sickness. Doesn't do much when you're already sick, but it just prevents you from getting sick.
Curtis, so if we wanted to use garlic, let's say you're Jonathan Bailor and you're lazy when it comes to cooking, and so you would, if it comes down to it, I would literally just take garlic, mash it up, and like combine it with water and drink it. Like what is if I'm going to use this purely from almost like a medicine, right? Like less like a food and more like a supplement. How should I dose it? Should I take like a half cup of it at 3 times a day, or obviously that's too much, but what would I take?
Should I take you to the bank on saying lazy? Because you can actually get a lot of benefits with just taking 1 clove, eating it, and then having your meal and brushing your teeth after. That's all you really need to do.
So in terms of frequency of dose, it's just like get a clove's worth of garlic into your body after mashing it up, either with your mouth or with some other device per day.
3 times a day usually.
Okay.
I just say like when you're cooking breakfast, pop in a garlic clove, then eat your breakfast. Maybe have one when you get back from work or school, then have one like after dinner.
And what is the for people like me who don't know what a clove of garlic is, what's the gram? See, this is like one geek talking to another geek listeners. I'm like, can you describe that in grams, please?
It's around 4 to 5 grams for a clove of garlic. Like ideally, you'd want 9 to 12 grams of garlic overall through the course of a day. So if assuming a clove is about 3 to 4, that's about 3 cloves.
Oh, Curtis, I feel like we're having a geek moment right now. This is so the listeners might just be like, oh my God, move on. That's we're having fun though. Anything else about garlic, Curtis, or should we move on to another food?
Garlic as a food product, this is sort of survey research, like correlational, so don't take it at face value. But it does have a lot of anti-cancer properties, and people who eat 10 grams of garlic a day, relative to those who do not, tend to have reduced risk of, I believe it's stomach, prostate, and colon cancer. Not an amazingly reduced risk, but enough that the food product actually does reduce the risk of those things.
Fascinating. All right, well, so Curtis, I'm just checking our time here, and I can tell we're geeking out because I want to just keep, like, we've gotten through 1/8 of one of the talking points. But no, it's good. We're totally gonna have you back because this is glorious. If you'll come back. But the one thing I do want to ask you is if you could recommend just for the everyday person who, when I say everyday, I mean they're not training for some major events. They're not, they're just trying to be happy and healthy and do what they do in this world to the best of their ability. What are the 3 foods or supplements you would highly recommend?
Oh dear. This one's going to be weird. Can I actually sort of avoid the really common ones? Like I know everyone knows about fish oil and vitamin D, and that's already in my recommendations. But if I recommend those two right now, I only have one good thing to talk about.
Okay, well
So
I'll
let's
give you the.
pretend I just talked about fish oil and vitamin D already, and I'm going on to my next favorite three. The first one, it's something called berberine, Berberine. It has an interesting history because like it was found independently in like 8 different herbs that were all said to be anti-diabetic, and it turns out that berberine is anti-diabetic. So yay, common thread. And it's basically metformin. Metformin's an anti-diabetic drug, which is probably my favorite pharmaceutical in existence. It reduces elevated blood glucose, but cannot induce low blood glucose. And just in general, it does reduce fat mass in people who are obese and unhealthy, not so much in lean people, I think. And it partially mimics caloric restriction. Not the best, but it's potently anti-diabetic, reduces triglycerides, reduces cholesterol a little bit, and works well with anything that's like a statin, and then just makes you a bit better.
Can you spell it one more time for us?
Berberine.
Love it. Okay, that was number one. What's number two?
Garlic.
Okay, love it. And remember,
first,
that's mashed up garlic.
yes, because when I said that berberine works well with things that are like statins, garlic is a statin. That may sound weird, but it kind of is. And garlic itself does reduce cholesterol, LDL, and increases HDL in like the 10 to 15% range. Like it's quite potent at that stuff. And so garlic and berberine work well together, and the stuff that berberine does not do, garlic does really well. So those two things independently with a healthy diet can do so much for the body.
Love it. So berberine, garlic, and what's number three?
Oh dear. So many to talk about. I'll go with spirulina.
Okay.
Because it's a fun history with me, because I started researching spirulina because I thought it was some weird hippie green thing, and it became one of my favorite supplements after that.
And is this because how similar is spirulina to maybe the more popular green powder wheatgrass?
Oh god, they're totally different. Spirulina isn't like if you think of spirulina as a vegetable replacement, it's totally not. It's basically a drug.
Mm.
Okay, you know how there's inflammation in the body and oxidation in the body, and they're both kind of seen as bad, falsely, I guess. Those two systems can interact with each other. And one of the main ways it interacts is one of your immune cells, called a neutrophil, circulates the body, checking it out. If it sees bacteria, it does something called oxidative burst, which is basically a machine gun of superoxide radicals and killing any bacteria that gets in the way. It's pretty awesome. But at the same time, if the neutrophil is not working correctly, it does that to your tissue. And that's how inflammation can cause oxidative damage. Spirulina just straight up inhibits that process. The one enzyme that mediates the shotgun effect, spirulina just stops.
And what is it about? I mean, spirulina is, assuming it's not this magic manna from the gods designed specifically to do that. What is the thing or component in spirulina that interacts with the body to cause that?
Okay. Spirulina is like 40% protein by weight, and 1% of spirulina by weight in the protein fragment is something called C-phycocyanin. I don't really need to worry about it too much, but basically it looks a lot like the bile acids in the human body, and bile acids naturally do that whole inhibitory thing. People who actually have elevated bile acids in the blood, I believe it's called Gilbert syndrome. It was called disease until we realized they're healthier than us. So it's called Gilbert syndrome, and we believe with spirulina can sort of mimic it to a little degree because it's mimicking elevated bile acids. And whoever has Gilbert syndrome has a longer life expectancy, lower chances of cardiovascular disease, reduced obesity, reduced risk of dementia, just all the good stuff.
Interesting. Well, I gotta tell you, I have pretty excited about having a little berberine or a little black cumin seed, a little garlic, and a little spirulina smoothie later tonight. I think I might give that a shot.
Be careful, spirulina kind of stains everything green.
Oh no! Well, so how do you take? Do you take it in capsule form?
No, I also brush my teeth afterwards.
Well, it's probably, see, there you go, and that's just things working out because you need to do that for the garlic anyway.
Yeah. Promoting dental health indirectly by bad tasting foods, or just bad breath inducing green teeth tasting foods.
Kurtis, obviously this has been a phenomenal interview because we're only scratching the surface, and this is brilliant. So we're gonna have you back for sure. But what is next for you in Examine.com?
We're basically kind of moving static at the moment, but on an upward slope. So we're just gonna keep on getting more people aware of Examine.com, publicize us a little bit, have more people benefit from our information. Personally speaking, I need to go back in the database because there's a bunch of herbs that I did about 1.5 years ago that, while they were good at the time, my standard of information has gone up, and I am kind of ashamed of those pages. I need to fix them up. So I'm just forever caffeining forward into the database, making the information a bit better as possible.
Hey, Kurtis, I love this. And I mean, it's you and it's soul. So when we look at Examine.com, we're basically looking at the HTML version of you.
That is actually accurate. And I'm blushing again.
If you could turn Kurtis into HTML, it would be Examine.com. I love it. I love it. Well, Kurtis, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll obviously have you back on the show. This is just brilliant, and I salute you for getting out there and getting the independent, science-based research in such a sketchy area. So thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you, too.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, and please forget, me geeking out a little bit, but it's fun. It's fun. Nutrition is fun. Our guest today again was the brilliant Kurtis Frank, who is the founder and lead researcher over at Examine.com. And remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Chat with you soon.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at carriebrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at bailorgroup.com. That's Bailor group.com.